The only real God is the one that you believe in. Start looking for the God in others. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about being saved.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, friends.
Welcome into another episode of Spiritual Philosophy Chatter with the Joneses. I'm Danny Jones.
And I am Samantha Jones.
And this is episode 181.
181.
What's our topic today?
This is, why is spiritual growth so hard?
Yeah, why?
Right?
Why?
Right. Linda? We have a lot of listeners interested in this topic. I'm excited for this one. It's a big topic, but we can all learn a lot, for sure.
But rewarding.
From each other. Yes.
And we'll get into it.
Yes.
But before we do, anything you want to talk about from last week?
Yes. So last week we did Believing We Are Magic, and we got this from Crystal. She said, regarding healing, I got a message basically telling me that not every disease, illness, injury, or ailment is meant to be healed fully, though some temporary relief can be offered by the healer. The experiences of these situations are providing lessons to the individual going through them and surrounding spirits. I needed to spit that out here so I could focus back on the podcast. I hope you don't mind me sharing that here. No, that was wonderful, actually, because I really did want to talk about healing more in that last episode, but we didn't get a chance to. Mm-hmm. But yes, I absolutely agree with you. I don't know yet exactly what the extent of what I can heal is. Right. I try something different all the time. Yesterday, actually, I think it was, I was able to heal our black lab Sabbath. He has this stomach issue where, for whatever reason, every once in a while, he'll wake up in the morning and his stomach is just really, really rumbly. And the only way I've ever been able to fix it is with peanut butter bread. He will eat that. Well, he hasn't even been taking that lately. And then hot dogs started working. Well, the other morning I thought, why am I doing this? Maybe I can heal this myself. And I did. He went and he ate his breakfast without me having to give him anything to start to make that feel better. I was in shock. Yeah. So I'm still really learning about what I can do as a healer. Mm-hmm. But I know that there's going to be things I'm not going to be able to heal or fix.
Yeah, I think it goes without saying that, especially something terminal, when it's your time, it's your time.
Yes.
So none of us are going to live forever.
Yes.
But I do think that in those regards that there are things that we can do to lessen or ease our discomfort.
Yes, absolutely.
Or someone else.
Even if you have a chronic illness, healing can take away the pain for a little while. Mm-hmm. Not forever, but I've noticed healings that I've done on myself that they usually last a day or so with areas that I have chronic pain. Mm-hmm. So I definitely believe that if it's not to cure the disease or cure the illness, whatever it is, that you can bring some relief from it. Yeah. Absolutely. But I love that comment from Crystal.
Yeah, that's cool.
That was a good one. Yeah. And absolutely, when you guys have those types of things that come to you during the show or whenever, we love to hear them. Mm-hmm. So feel free to comment them.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And then we answer 2 questions every week. And guess what? We're going to call this the Crystal episode because she had this that she said. And then both of these questions are from her.
All right.
Because she had listed 2 questions. I was like, we'll just make it the Crystal episode. Why not?
There we go.
Okay. She says, 2 questions. I'm really curious if we pick or if we are assigned to our soul families on the other side. Have you been shown how that works? That's a great question.
Yeah.
And you know what? I honestly can say I have not. Yeah. Because it goes back so far. I'm not sure. Like, I think Danny and I both kind of agree about how this started. And it's kind of like the Big Bang Theory where, you have this one mass and it explodes. And all of those things, those little pieces that explode are our souls, right? So what did we do then? Did we go and go, oh, I want your soul in my soul family? Or did we just group together? I have no idea. But I do know that now, we can't pick them now. They're in our soul family. These are the people that are the players in our lives.
That is a really good question.
Yeah.
And I think what I'd like to believe is that it's similar to incarnating into a life that we are all sort of drawn to certain people in this life. There's certain people we just want to be around. We love their humor,
Right.
their energy, their smile. I think I want to believe that it's similar to that. So in that instance, when that happened, you sort of started making relationship with other souls,
Right.
other energy.
Right.
Some were attractive to you and some may not.
Right.
But I think this goes back also so many generations of souls and people now working together that to me it almost is like what came first, the chicken or the egg. I couldn't really tell you where,
Right.
how does it get picked? How does it happen? I have no idea.
Something that I saw, like a lot of times when I ask these questions to the universe or my mom or whoever's going to answer them, is I might get something that relates, that I can take, that I understand. So what they showed me was how at one point, I can't remember what it's called, all of the continents were one. And then they started breaking apart. And the people on those continents started building their own kind of cultures and everything. So maybe it's similar to that. Maybe it's similar that when this Big Bang Theory thing happened, that we had bigger chunks or whatever, or pieces that we were grouped with, and we just stayed in those groups and built our own thing. I don't...
I
that's
think
the
that
best
we
way
are
that I can
social
explain it.
beings, regardless
Yes.
of whether we're in a body or we're on the other side just being energy. We are attracted to one another and interacting with one another. I feel that that's some level of being social.
Right.
Or,
Yes.
the energies attracting and working together. But
Yes, and a lot of people, like the souls, they might not be in our soul families, but they are a part of our lives in some way. That they're, they, for whatever reason, they're a friend or a coworker or whatever in this life, blah, blah, blah. They're still a part of us. They're
Right.
still a part of the story and all of that. So,
it's interesting with our relationship because having met, many, many years ago, as acquaintances and feeling your energy then, not knowing you real well, but feeling just being around your energy, kind of like two ships sort of passing.
yeah.
And then fast forward to now when we reconnected and then started dating, being reintroduced to that energy and realizing, whoa, like this isn't at all
What you remember.
what I maybe pictured or thought,
Yeah.
or like it was just a piece of it,
Right. Yeah. Totally. Makes sense.
But I definitely feel that you're within my soul family, not just
Yes.
because we ended up together in this life, but our paths had crossed.
Yes, and these are questions that we should do like an episode about this somehow, but these are the questions that we ponder too, is like Danny and I met originally when I was 17 and I was dating the man that became my first husband, and him and Danny were friends. And sometimes I ponder, well, were we supposed to be attracted to each other then? Was our relationship supposed to start then? Or were we just meeting each other and it didn't feel familiar? That's why, like, I wonder, I wouldn't have guessed that you were a part of my soul family when we met because it didn't feel familiar like that. But I don't know. These are the questions that I ask myself. But definitely we are a part of each other's soul family.
That's true. I mean, it could have been our first introduction as interacting as souls, or it was like does this person spark anything in your
Yeah.
mind or anything?
Yeah.
Do you remember anything? And I'm just
Yeah.
like, no, this is Samantha, my friend's girlfriend, and okay, whatever,
Yeah.
this guy I work with,
One of the things I always wonder is if I would have had my abilities then, would I have been told, hey, this guy, you're going to be married to him one day. What? I don't know. Those are all the things that go through
Well, you
my
were
head.
told that later on by
Yeah,
another
I'm
psychic.
talking about
Right.
when I was 17
No,
years
no, no, no.
old. If
Yes.
somebody would have said, this guy right here is, no. But these are all the things that I question, and they all go back to the soul family and everything. So we should probably do another episode on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, good question, Crystal.
Thanks, Crystal.
And then let's read the other one. She said, do you ever do a reading and the soul has already reincarnated? Yes, especially in animals. And usually what happens...
Wasn't there also a baby, a miscarriage or something, and the person had another child, and that was the child?
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
That happens.
But specifically, you had a reading.
Really recently?
No, I wouldn't say recent.
Because there was one that was recent. But yes, especially with the babies. I don't know if she's a listener, but she's a client, and she's in my reading group, that her daughter had, that's what it was. The baby had SIDS and passed away. Then she got pregnant again, and the baby was born. It was a stillbirth. So she got these, double whammies here. And so me communicating, I can tell this is the same soul.
It's not ready.
It's not ready. Yeah. And that's really, really hard to understand. But with the kids, that's usually what happens. Is it's not like if you have a miscarriage or whatever, the soul goes away and never comes back to you. It's the same soul. But with like human reincarnation, typically it's either the little ones or like the really, really like great-great-grandparents. Like the older pictures that I see, those are harder for me to connect to. Like, when we first started photographing, if I look at like those old-time photos, those people I don't really connect to all that much. And I think it's because they have reincarnated. You can connect to them at any time, whether they've reincarnated or not, because a piece of our soul still stays there. And with the animals, I get this a lot, that it's... usually what'll happen is I'll look at the picture of the animal, and if they've already been reincarnated, it will just have a different feeling. They won't show me themselves at the Rainbow Bridge. It's just very different, and then I can put it together from there. But there's always a piece there for me to communicate with. So I usually ask, well, have you reincarnated? But yeah. Right. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah. I love those. That's another thing we should do again, is reincarnation. Because what I love to do is, and this is good for our spiritual growth, is that you guys have come along with us through most of our spiritual journey, except for 1 year, I think, maybe 2, one. You guys have been along with us. You've seen us grow. You've seen us do episodes on reincarnation and what we knew then. And it just keeps growing and growing. And so I love to do episodes that are like follow-ups to those and go, hey, guess what else we've learned? Or, those things. And yeah. It
is. It's interesting to visit back.
It is, yeah.
Even for us, like, whoa.
Yeah, it really is. So thank you so much, Crystal, for the message about last week, as well as the questions.
Thank you, Crystal.
Yay. All right, and then let's do a reading before we start. This one was posted in my free reading group on Facebook. If you don't know about my free reading group, you can find it. It is called Free Pet and Psychic Medium Readings with Samantha Jones. And in this group, I do free readings so that you can see a little bit about how this works. This is a dog, yellow lab. Isn't he cute?
Let me see. I didn't get to see him.
I love yellow labs.
Oh, look at that.
I love all dogs.
The tongue.
Yeah, yellow labs are kind of goofy. They're like the goofy lab.
They're the hyped ones.
They are hyped usually, yeah. Okay, so this is Leah. She says, I'm having trouble getting my dog Riley. He will not use the scratch pad to file his nails, and his nails are getting to the point I may have to bring him to the vet to have him sedated. So she wanted me to talk to him about using the scratch pad. I thought that this was a good reading, and I picked this one out of the group because, first of all, a lot of people don't know that this can be done, that they make these types of things. But also, teaching your animals how to deal better with nail trims is actually really easy.
Yeah.
And we've really worked on it because it was hard for us with our dogs. We have giant dogs and they have giant nails. So it's really hard to trim their nails. And we've had to get them used to the Dremel. And the way that I do it is with the animal communication, that you sit with them and while I do it, and I talk to them the whole time while I'm dremeling their nails. So I thought this was a good example of ways we can do that. So let's talk to Riley and see, first of all, why he doesn't want to use the scratch pad. Riley has a lot of energy, like most yellow labs. He doesn't feel like a puppy, though. He doesn't feel like he's like a year or 2 or 3 even. He feels a little bit older, but still has a lot of energy. And we know our black lab, he's always going to. Always awake, always doing something. So Riley definitely has a lot of energy. One of the things I would recommend before even attempting to do the scratch pad is exercise. Get it out. Get as much of that energy out as you can, and then he will be more cooperative. But one of the things that he's telling me is that he doesn't understand exactly what is expected of him and why this is being done. You have to remember that these dogs are like children. They don't really understand. They need us to kind of explain it to them. And he doesn't understand, why are you doing this? What is the purpose? So I'm going to explain to him a couple of things here, that this is important for his health. It's much easier than going to the vet. The vet is, yes, yeah, I can feel that. He's like, no.
I'm listening. I'm listening.
That was funny. No vet. Okay. So if you don't want to go to the vet, this is the best way that you can do this, is to allow the scratch pad. Okay. So I'm going to show him in my head what is supposed to be done, how this works. But this is really about training too. If you haven't taken the time yet to train him how to use this, then you can't expect that he's just going to know how to use it. I don't know exactly how to train to use the scratch pad. I've seen it a few times. But if you haven't done this, Leah, I would suggest, looking it up and seeing how they tell you to teach this, because he really is confused about what's expected from him. And one of the things that I'm feeling is like, when he's doing something right, he needs to be praised. He needs to be told, yes, good boy, good boy. When he's doing something wrong, he needs a mellow, no, that's not it. He's very, very sensitive. And so a lot of times what I feel like happens with him is when he's being told no, he doesn't know what he's being told no to, because there's multiple things that are going on at the same time. So that makes a lot of sense. I'm hoping that just me talking to him now will make him understand that this is very beneficial to him. But what I would suggest is that the next time that you plan to try this, just message me right before, and I will talk to him and tell him we're going to work on this now. And I will show him again in my head what we are going to do and why this is going to be helpful. And there's no vet trip, there's no sedation. You get to do it at home. You can actually make it a fun thing. And so hopefully that helps. But I really think that a lot of this is just that he is confused about what is expected of him and what isn't.
Yeah.
So hopefully that helps, Leah.
Thanks, Leah.
Yay, thank you. Thank you very much. So, all right. There it is.
And your information then, before we start?
Let's do that. Let's give our info. If you would like to find me, get a reading or anything else, you can find me SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. For us, you can find us on all social media at Spiritual Joneses, or email us spiritualjoneses@gmail.com. And you?
Yes, for my art, djonesartcollection.com for the web, at djonesartcollection for Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
Yay.
And that's it for me.
Yay.
All right, then, episode 181.
181.
Why is spiritual growth so hard?
Yay. Okay, so...
Why?
When we first started the spiritual journey, I had no clue how hard this was going to be. No clue at all. But it has been probably the most rewarding thing that I've ever done. But it's been the most challenging. So it takes, all of this takes time, first of all. I think that's something, we'll get into that for sure. But it is very, very rewarding. No matter how long it takes you or the path that you take, the spiritual journey is supposed to be beautiful, and it's supposed to be life-changing. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, how we can make it less painful.
It's even in the simplest of things. I feel like in this process, the consciousness is woken up.
Yes.
And it's sort of somewhat kind of meeting my subconscious part of the way.
Yeah.
And it's triggering both, It's almost like your consciousness becomes magnified. So I'm no longer okay with flipping the guy off on the freeway.
Right.
It feels wrong.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because why? Not because that I'm not angry and the guy doesn't deserve to be flipped off. It just means that I'm no longer okay with that, because I personally wouldn't want to be treated in such a manner.
Right.
And that's just one example of something simple.
Yep.
But it can boil down to the biggest of things and the littlest of things.
Yep. The beginning of most spiritual journeys starts with a spiritual awakening. And an awakening can be triggered by many, many, many events in your life. Sometimes by nothing, sometimes just by thinking. But most of the time, it's caused by something like the death of a loved one, midlife crisis, divorce, illness, and even the pandemic, I know, triggered a lot of spiritual awakenings. Spiritual awakenings can be unnerving, especially at first. We start to need answers to questions like, who am I? Why am I here? And how much of what I have been taught is real? So, like Danny was saying, even with that one example, these are the types of things that we have to look at. Everything about ourselves on the spiritual journey, we are questioned.
Right.
Why do you treat people like that? Why do you talk to somebody like that? Why do you think this way? So many different things, and it feels like it comes at you from every single angle. And there's been many times on the spiritual journey where I've been overwhelmed with, okay, I can't handle all of these things at once, where you're dealing with childhood trauma, you're trying to change yourself in some ways or whatever it is, and it can become really, really overwhelming.
Yeah, I mean, the first initial kind of awakening for me, which was that the third eye really kind of opening and feeling that truth, that I can't even remember how long it was, but there's a honeymoon period with anything that's new and exciting.
Yeah.
And when all of a sudden it's like the reality didn't change, but the newness wore off.
Yeah.
And then I realized, oh, now that conscious voice or subconscious voice in my consciousness, is so much louder than it used to be.
Yeah.
This is where the growth and the work started.
Yes.
Where it was like I had to look at, now that I was seeing things differently, I had to react to the world differently.
Yes. One of the first things that I remember realizing is that we were going to be tested on everything. Yeah, we have. Things started happening to us that had never happened before. People were being put in our path to test our patience, to teach us how to be more kind and how to be more accepting. And we both were like, why are these people doing this? Why are lady that sits down at our table and steals one of my potato chips at deli?
Yeah.
Or this guy with Alzheimer's that stops us and shows us a picture of his dogs that he had in Germany in World War II. So many things were happening that we were both just like, what's going on? But this is how the universe is trying to show you the ways that you can make yourself a better person, the ways that you can help people. And it's uncomfortable, but once you start to recognize it and you can see in any of these situations what is going on, it really helps you to move faster along this journey instead of being like, no, I don't want to talk to that guy, the dementia guy. I'm just going to keep walking.
Right.
Every time we saw him, we stopped and talked to him. But it was, at first, we were like, why is this happening? And then we realized it. This is a test.
Right.
Be nice. Take your time. Talk to somebody.
It was doing something for somebody that, as small as it was, just to see us walk by with our dog, it brightened his day.
Yep. Exactly. Yep. He would come running out of his house. He was the grandfather or something.
Yeah. Grandfather of
Elijah Wood?
the guy that played Spider-Man.
Is that who? I don't know. I
forget
remember
his name.
But yeah, he told us that one day. We were like,
First
what?
Spider-Man. The first couple Spider-Man.
Yeah. So, yeah. So these things come up in so many different ways, so many different types of challenges, and they are put in front of us to help us grow, because we are never supposed to stop growing.
No.
We're supposed to change the things that need to be changed and to correct the damage that's been done to us. Opening our eyes to what's actually happening in the world as well, and happening around us, and examining religion that we've been taught. That's a really big one. That's probably the biggest part of the spiritual awakening, I think, at first, is examining, if you have religious beliefs, how this falls into your religious beliefs.
Yeah.
I really think it's very important for anybody, no matter what religion you've been brought in, even if it's this, even if it's spirituality, that you examine it for yourself.
Oh, yeah.
That you logically look at things and
Should question.
Yes, you should question. And if you still come to the same conclusion that you feel the same way, then at least you've questioned. But like there were things about the Bible, for example, that I didn't question. I just thought this is in writing and I'm going to believe it. And now I go, wait a minute, Adam and Eve, they ate the forbidden fruit and then they had to wear clothes and all this stuff. Well, where'd they come from? They had to come from somewhere. God just didn't go click. You know, there's so many things about it that you go, wait a minute, this just doesn't make any sense. And if it doesn't make any sense, it needs to be examined. Yes, there is magic, but people do not just come from nowhere. They don't. They have to come from somewhere. Adam and Eve had parents too. Okay, so that's just a small example, but there's so many things in the Bible that are like, okay, if just look at them, just see what you think about them, and if you still feel the same way, okay. But the religious aspect of this is really picking apart everything that you've been taught in religion and examining, is this true or not? Is there a hell or not? Right. That's a big part of this too.
I just feel like, you know, even in the Bible, it says you should question, you should ask.
Yes.
I just feel like it's harder for me to rely on that source of information because it's incomplete.
Yeah.
It's not all there. Like, take, for instance, the book of Enoch, which is, I believe, one chapter in the Bible. Well, Dead Sea Scrolls, there's like over 100 chapters of the book of Enoch.
Right.
So,
right.
Why are we leaving things out? If the story's to be told, especially prior to Christ and then post, shouldn't the whole story be told?
Yeah.
That's where I struggle with it. But, and it's very hard to understand a lot of it because I believe it's a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Exaggeration?
No, it's, I'm drawing a blank, but basically put into a context that isn't literal.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There are metaphors.
It's metaphor.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely. You. There's so many metaphors and people take it so literally, yeah. So, and we're not knocking the Bible at all. It's just about discovering what you actually believe.
Yeah.
Don't let somebody else tell you what to believe. Examine it for yourself. Don't even let us tell you what to believe. Try and figure it out for yourself. That's what we're supposed to do. That's a part of the spiritual awakening. Same when it comes to the government and the news. All of these things that I shoved my head in the sand about all these years, thinking these politicians had, somewhat of our interest in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, they don't care. No. And it's just a cruel
been going
world.
On for a very long time.
Yes. And the news is just full of junk. But these aren't things that we're taught. We're taught to respect our government, and we're taught that the news is correct, and we have to pick these things apart and look at them for ourselves, and that is all a part of the spiritual awakening. Right. Absolutely.
Well, and it's spiritual growth. We're not talking about religious growth.
Right.
Okay. A spirit resides within. Yeah. It doesn't reside in a building.
Yeah.
It doesn't reside in a religious theory or concept. It's within.
Yep.
The growth is going to then occur within.
Yep. So I asked our listeners, what has been the hardest part of your spiritual journey? And there are a few that are tied for first. Dealing with the opinions of others.
Yeah.
Yes. This was at first, I didn't really want anybody to even know about any of this, but it's become a part of our lives. It's become so much a part of our lives that I even now, people ask, what do you do for a living? And I tell them I'm a psychic medium. And it trips me out every time I say it because it's really hard, to people, you don't know how people are going to take that. No. But you have to authentically be yourself. And the people that don't want to be around you because they don't like that, they're taken out by the universe. They're taken out of your life for a reason.
Yes.
That was a hard thing for me to accept at first, was that there were people that were leaving. But you know what? There's people that come in that will understand you better. Yeah. Even family. My own dad, I just met him a year ago, but he doesn't get it at all. And that's okay. Yeah. He's very religious. It's fine. we don't need to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's just how it goes.
No, there's been a lot of change,
Yeah.
of people coming and going.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, there has. And everybody has their opinion,
And everybody has a reason, and everybody's entitled to that. But that's not my existence. That's not my reality, my path.
Yeah. I think that a lot of us probably do find the hardest time with the people that are religious, because a lot of times they're taught that this is like devil worshiping or whatever.
They're going to burn in hell.
Yeah. I mean, literally, like some of the heaviest Christians believe that even yoga is devil's work. Yeah. Okay, stretching and meditating, I don't know, whatever. Yeah. You have the right to believe whatever you want,
Absolutely.
But I'm going to practice whatever I want. Mm-hmm. And if we can't get along because of that, then we don't need to be in each other's presence. No. That doesn't mean we have to be rude to each other, right. But we don't need to be friends. We can just be acquaintances. Mm-hmm. But most people don't look at it that way. And that's the way that the universe wants us to look at it, is I'm going to respect you for your beliefs if you respect me for mine. But people don't want it to go both ways. No. They want to be respected for their beliefs, but their beliefs are correct.
We're supposed to be humanity.
Right.
One species.
Yes, absolutely. This is whole spiritual journey. I catch myself way more often than before, realizing just how human I am right now. Mm-hmm. It's a very strange feeling, but it's like I have to remind myself when I do something that maybe I'm not so proud of along this journey that I am human, because that's what we're here for. We're here for the human experience, and we have to learn along this journey, and being human means we're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. Nobody's perfect, The next one that was not trusting in the universe enough. It's really hard, especially if you're coming into this later in life and you've been fed one thing your entire life, and now you're supposed to trust and put faith completely into a source or a God or whatever it is. I have complete faith in the fact that there is a God or a universe or source or whatever. But I still have my own trouble trusting that source.
Yep.
Trusting that it has my best interest in mind, even though I know that it does. Because I know sometimes what's best for me isn't going to be easy or fun. So that's why.
Yeah, it's true. And in our one of our listeners, Ed Nichols, taps in on this a lot, which is that is the illusion of separation from. You are a part of it.
Yeah.
You are the source.
Yes.
You're a part of it. So you're in control of your life.
Yes.
As long as you're in control of your spirit.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So if we're going to walk around and, punch people in the face and flip people off on the freeway, that's probably the kind of energy and karma you're going to get back.
Yes.
But the recognizing of how can this go wrong when it's merely an experience? It's merely a simulation for the source itself to experience what it's like to be something greater than the greatest.
Yeah. Your soul has to grow, and it has to experience everything that there is to experience, and the only real way for it to do that is in the body, in a human body. So everything that we go through is to teach us. It is to help us grow. And I feel like kind of gypped that I'm 45 years old and I just started learning about this at 40. Like, I wish I would have had longer to be able to develop this and less time of the damage, because now it's like there's so much damage that has to be undone that it is very difficult. It's more difficult along the spiritual path, I feel. But it is an amazing ride if you're, willing to go about it. But yeah, trusting in the universe, I don't think the universe expects anybody to 100% of the time trust it. I think we're imperfect beings, and we're going to have those moments where we just don't trust. And that's normal.
It's part of it. Yeah.
So don't beat yourself up if you find those times. Just try and remind yourself. Like, when I do that, when I have my times that I'm not trusting, I always go to my mom because I really feel like she's the one that kind of oversees everything. And I realized that since she died, I've gone through a lot of things that were hard, but she's never let me fall. And so I look at that as comfort, as a safety net of, okay, I can continue this journey because she's never let me fall. So you got to remind yourself, yeah, we've had the rough times, but you know, it is a roller coaster. And if I trust, things usually get better when I trust. So let's see. Thank you. What else they said? Wanting it to progress faster.
Yeah, I understand.
Yes, I think we all can be very impatient. That is another human trait. When I am impatient, I always tell myself, you're human. Yeah. It's just, you know, but I try and remind myself, everything doesn't have to be accomplished today.
Right.
It took 40 years to establish the set of beliefs that I had, and it's not going to happen overnight to fix all of the damage and everything that was done.
Yeah.
It doesn't. You know, sometimes we talk about people that have had issues in the past and, you know, wonder have they changed their issues. And I think it has been so hard for me to change my issues, and I have worked so hard at it that I know that people that have kind of, you know, like trauma or whatever, if they're going to change these things about themselves, they have to work really, really, really hard. And I respect anybody that's willing to put that kind of effort into making changes in their lives, because it is not easy at all.
No.
At all.
No, it's not.
No. And everything takes time. So you just have to remind yourself of that too when it comes to wanting things to progress faster. In the spiritual journey, I feel like they hand me things as I can handle them. If a lot of the things that I've been told over the last couple of years would have been handed to me at the beginning of the spiritual journey, I wouldn't have understood. Yeah. So you have to, just like in being in school, you have to go through first, second, third grade to go to fourth, fifth, and sixth, because you have to learn the things in first, second, and third.
Right. And
that's what we go through. We have to learn these things so that we can evolve and grow and change. But it doesn't happen overnight at all.
No.
Let's see what else is on this list. I don't know where to go from here. That, yeah. And I think that along the journey, we all have those times where it's like there's a lull of like, okay, well, what now? For me, I feel like I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like I'm in tune with what needs to happen next as far as like the universe tells me. Yeah. But I have to listen. You can not listen. Yeah. If you feel something, if you feel like I should probably change this or work on this or whatever, like I'm a really bad procrastinator, really bad. I don't want to do much of anything until it's the last minute, right? So yesterday I kept hearing my mom in my head, you need to go to urgent care because I've been having issues with my ear and some burning in my foot. You need to go to urgent care. And I'm like, no, I'll do it tomorrow. I don't want to do it today. Don't want to. The more that I keep putting things off and the more that I keep having these bad habits, the worse it is. So I have to go, okay, I hear you. I'm going to give in. I'm going to do what you're telling me to do because I know it's the right thing. And you know what? I have an ear infection. And how long did I put it off for?
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, and I didn't think I had a fall. I think I told you guys I had a fall, and my foot has this burning pain in it. And so I just want to make sure the foot wasn't broken, which it isn't. So there's peace of mind there too.
Right.
But I really didn't want to go. And I just put it off and put it off and put it off. And when we have those feelings of we need to do something, we need to do it.
Right.
And that's the only way that we're going to progress faster and that we're going to know which way to go next is when you hear that thing of you need to do this, you need to do it. Don't put it off anymore. That next step that you are feeling, or there's all these signs, maybe you're seeing signs of I need to do this. Until you do that, they're not going to move you forward. So, and if you don't know what that is, if you really, you don't hear it and you're really, really stuck, hey, that's what I'm here for. That's what I can help with.
Those last two poll questions can sometimes get blurred for me. The lines, feeling like things aren't moving fast enough.
Yes. And
then feeling like I don't know where to go next.
Yes.
Well, sometimes my own impatience of like not taking into consideration that maybe where I'm at is where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
For that time. And not forcing certain situations. That's kind of my a focal point for me, is to let the universe show me, not force it.
Yes.
The forcing it usually ends it in a different trajectory that I really wasn't intending.
Yep.
So I have to look at those both separately, because again, I can tend to blur them and think, this isn't moving, and does that mean I don't know what I'm supposed to do next? No, maybe you're just putting the work in.
Yes.
You know.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Let's read. We had a lot of listeners that commented on this, and let's listen what some of them had to say about what the hardest parts of their spiritual journey is. Charlie said, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel during a not so great time in my life, even though I know that the universe challenges us for us to evolve. If you could give some advice on how you stay on course, that would be greatly appreciated. Charlie, do you know what? It is not always easy for me to stay on course even.
Yeah.
And I really, really try. I think one of the most important things is when you see yourself getting off course, when you feel like you're kind of falling off the spiritual wagon, is to be honest with yourself and say, no, I got to get back on. I can't let myself fall deeper. And it is not easy. And it is about faith. That goes back to the faith in the universe and the trust that things are going to go the way that they are supposed to, whatever way that may be.
Right.
But it is not easy. And there are these moments throughout our lives. It will always be this way, where it's up and down, no matter what it is. It's always a roller coaster. Yeah. So when we have those down moments, we have to be gentle on ourselves too, and realize, okay, it's okay. I'm having a down moment right now, or a down time.
You're absolutely human.
Yep.
And I kind of look at it also like, okay, well, what are you going to do? You're going to turn your back on this and walk away from this? Like,
right.
You can't.
Yeah.
You can't. I can't unsee it now.
Yep.
I can't unfeel it. I can't unhear it. So if I'm going to walk away in my mind from it, then the direction, and that I get, then I'm just going to think I'm insane.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly.
But it's not. It's actually really directing me.
Yeah.
Guiding me.
Yep. I think for me, when I accepted the fact that life wasn't always going to be up, and that things were going to be a constant up and down type of thing, that it made me more peaceful.
Yeah.
Because I think we all want to think that we can make life be level and smooth. And that's not how this journey goes, because it's not supposed to. So when you feel like there's no light at the end of the tunnel, you have to remind yourself, well, there is. Right. And then guess what? It's going to go dark for a little while again, probably somewhere down the line. And then you're going to see the light again. And it is a constant thing. And that's okay. Yeah. That's how life goes.
I mean, learning to embrace the lows with the highs is still, it's getting the most out of this experience.
Yeah.
So when those times are like that, I'm supposed to recognize that as much as I am to recognize the good time.
Yep. Exactly.
But there's an old saying, no pain, no gain. And in our society, we think if your life is filled with tears, then it's not a happy life. That's not necessarily true.
Right.
Because pain is pain. And you have to get through it to get to it. So there's growth there.
Yes. One thing that I will say that I have really changed about the way that I look at each day since the spiritual awakening started is I look at each day separate. I can look back in my life and remember how if something was bothering me, I could carry it on for days and days and days. But if I have a bad day, I really do my hardest to say it's just today. Tomorrow is going to be a better day, and I'm going to wake up and it's going to be better. And you know what? It isn't always, but when you can see that every day is its own story, and that you don't have to be miserable the next day just because you were miserable today. It really does change a lot of your perception on what's going on.
Yeah.
And how to
That's a good way to
have a
look at it.
happier life.
Yeah.
This one is from Shauna. She said, letting go of my past and being my own worst enemy. The feeling of being utterly alone sometimes. I know I'm not. There's a huge spirit party all around us all of the time. And the fact that this journey is extremely hard sometimes. It's exhausting, but I know it will be worth it. Just got to keep trucking along. And that feeling of alone, I want to tell you guys something that I realized within the last couple of weeks, and that is that once you start to shed your ego, you start to really see other people's. You start to notice that most people just want to talk about themselves, and they're not interested in the slightest in what you're talking about. Like, I notice that people, even when they ask you, so how have you been? And you start talking to them and telling them, they're zone out. They're too busy thinking about themselves and what they're going to tell you about themselves next. And it's really kind of wild. And so that can actually, for me, almost makes me want to spend more time alone. I have you and I have my sister, and I feel like the two of you keep me very grounded. But when I talk to a lot of other people, it can really throw me off because I see their ego more now.
Yeah.
Not that I don't have one. We all do. We're all human. It's just that you start to see it more.
But I think one of our biggest lessons in this life is, are you willing to try to shed it?
Yes.
We do have it for protective purposes in situations, and it can get way out of control for a lot of people. But are you willing?
Yes.
It doesn't mean for everybody, but for somebody, are you willing to shed it?
I think that would be a great topic as well for an episode, because there is so much that comes with shedding that ego that we don't even see. Like, one of the hardest things is just recognizing it's there.
Yeah.
Just saying, I have an ego and I'm human, and all of that. So, yeah, we'll have to do an episode on that for sure. So let's see who else left us some comments. Jennifer said, accepting and letting go of the past and living in the present. Living in the present is really hard.
Yeah.
It is, isn't it?
If we could all do that, I think a lot of this wouldn't be an issue.
You're right, if we could.
We spend a lot of time in the past and what's coming next, and and not realizing that, wow, there's a moment that's escaping me right now. That's pure serenity.
I've definitely learned with this to not focus on the past so much. Like, I really try, unless I'm working on something with myself, to not focus on that. But the future, I really try to bring myself out of that, but I do catch myself living in the future a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. And when it comes to letting go of the past, one of the things that's really helped me with that is realizing that everything along this journey has happened for a reason, or has happened because maybe I made a wrong decision and it's been corrected, or I took, steps to move it along, or whatever. There's reasons why every single thing that's happened to us has happened. And there's reason why everything that's going to happen can happen. And so the past actually helps me to work on the present and to change the future, because I can see the issues in the past.
Yeah.
But it is very, very hard to let go. Frank said, have to say the feeling alone as well. Not that I expect anyone to understand my process, but at the same time wishing certain people did. The shift was rough too, but I'm still trying not to fight it. Yeah, it can be really hard when people just don't understand.
Yeah.
Ed said, when the bottom dropped out, spiritual development is like breathing. You can't just inhale. You have to let what no longer serves as truth out. This may show us the beliefs or expectations we carry that would shield us from knowing the truth. Yeah. I have seen the journey compared to the wagon trains of the 1800s. We start out with everything we think we need, especially our expectations. As we come to the first river crossing, we begin to realize not everything will make this trip. Spiritual development is a journey you may need to unpack for. When you arrive, you will understand it's worth the sacrifice.
Right. Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Yep. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, thanks, Ed.
Thanks, Ed.
And then Lori said, accepting that I wasted so much time believing in a cult. So Lori was raised Jehovah's Witness. And I know she did. And she's lost all of her family that type of family.
Right.
by, letting it go. But what a life she has now, letting it go and seeing the truth.
Right.
And I feel sorry for the people that are still stuck in that place, but it sucks for her that her
and it's
family,
for me as an outside to Lori's life, I look at that as that was your path. Part of it, you had no choice in the matter because you were raised, as a child, I'm assuming, in it.
Yes.
But it was part of your path for you to get to the truth, to know definitively your truth.
Right.
So try not to look at it as wasted time. That was your path.
Yes.
To bring you here today.
Yes.
Because I do that a lot of times too, that didn't work out. Man, dang it. Why? Well, because that's not the path.
That's right. You have to trust that.
And so it's hard when you have a goal, or especially if you have a goal or something you're striving for, and there's roadblocks, but don't look as a no, an overall general no. Look at it as not the right fit.
Exactly.
For the situation.
Yeah, I totally agree. And then last one, Nancy said, honestly, not feeling like I'm certified crazy. So many wild experiences that you think only happen in novels. And yes, the loneliness of seeing things and experiencing things differently. So after an awakening, all your senses are on high alert, and trying to explain how you are feeling to someone else who hasn't experienced that makes you question yourself and your sanity.
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can get so overwhelmed really fast now because of all of that. And people don't understand. It's hard to, when you get to like this level, that you want to have conversations with people about certain things and you just can't because they're not there. They won't understand. When people ask me about my job, I don't want to use the word dumb it down a lot, but I can't go where I'd like to go because they just don't understand, and that's, it's tough.
But just have faith that there are people that absolutely agree with you.
Yes.
And if you were all in a room together, you would feel that energy.
Yes.
I mean, you can feel it now on your own, but you're not alone.
That's why I love the podcast, because I feel like we're bringing people together, people that are going through the same types of things. And that's what the discussion group is great for, meet people like yourself, because it is really hard. I did a podcast interview the other day, and we were talking about, because these girls, it's called the Soul Connection Duo, and they do a spiritual podcast as well. And we were talking about how this is such a niche type of thing. You have to find your people. It's like true crime, they will find you. There's so many of them. But the spiritual community, it's like we have to find each other. We have to be drawn to each other, and there's not as many of us. So it's great when we do find each other. When people find the podcast, that makes me so happy. I know that Spirit brought them to us for sure. So just a couple of things before we finish up. These are kind of like messages that I got from the universe before we started the show about ways that we can understand our spiritual journeys better and not be so hard on ourselves. And one of those things was that there's no such thing as perfection. Nope. So don't ever expect oh my God, I can talk. Perfection from yourself, because there is no such thing.
Nope.
Mm-mm. Take your time. Don't be in a rush, because you have time. We talked about a couple of weeks ago how death is by design. You're not going anywhere until you're ready to go somewhere. So you still have a lot to do on your path and your journey. You're going to continue to do it. So
and if you're not failing, you're not learning.
Absolutely. So that's another good one.
That's another aspect of, if growth, was that easy, there would be no purpose of failing. But we have that there to teach.
Yep. If you mess up, dust yourself off and try again. Mm-hmm. It happens to all of us. That I catch myself sometimes going, oh, that wasn't a real spiritual thing to do, was it? But I don't beat myself up about it. I go, okay, next time I'll just handle it differently, And then that comes to the last one that I have, that if you set your expectations too high for yourself, you're just setting yourself up for failure. So don't expect too much out of yourself. Give yourself a chance to get through this I shouldn't even say get through this journey, because I feel like this is a lifelong journey.
Right.
And it's always going to be tough, but then better, and then tough, and then better. It's just the way that it goes. So we shouldn't set our expectations too high, where we should have a goal or something that we would like to meet. It doesn't need to be done in a certain amount of time. We have to be real. Sometimes I'm not even real with myself. I'm like, I have to be the example, And so I set the expectations too high for myself, and that just doesn't work.
Right.
It
You have
just
to be
doesn't
human
work.
too.
You have to be human, yeah. And you have to remind yourself. And that's one of my favorite sayings, is that we are not humans having a spiritual experience. We are spirits having a human experience.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like you said, with the perfection, save that for when you get to the other side, because it's perfect over there.
Yeah, not here.
This isn't about mastering. This is about learning.
This is about learning, yep.
Yeah.
Learning and growing. So I hope that this has helped some of you to, know that there are others out there that feel the same way, that are going through the same things. And we are all here to help each other along this journey, because this is what we need. We need more people that can go out and spread happiness and peace and love and everything that the universe wants us to spread.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I don't know if anybody out there has ever built anything or created anything from scratch, but think about the feeling of accomplishment if you have.
Yeah.
What that's like. Because you're essentially doing the same thing to yourself.
Yep.
When you're trying to grow, when you're trying to progress and advance internally.
That's right.
It's like creating something out of nothing. And so it's a good feeling of accomplishment, even when you go, man, God, I built that shed in the backyard last summer and it about killed me. But you probably sit and stare at it and go, man, I did a pretty darn good job.
Totally.
The same idea.
Yeah.
It's like, simplify it a little for yourself, and the easier that you can go on yourself. And I don't mean, make excuses for the things you do wrong, but allowing yourself to be human.
Yep.
And make those mistakes, because you will grow from them.
Yep.
So.
That is true, sir.
Well, very good.
Yay.
That was cool.
Yeah, I thought so. Very
Well,
good.
before we say goodbye, share your information one more time real quick.
Yes, you can find me at SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. 2.5 weeks till my radio show.
Yay!
Yeah, exciting. Can't wait.
too.
So, yep, that's coming up. And then for us, you can reach us spiritualjoneses@gmail.com or spiritualjoneses on social media. And you?
For me, for my art, djonesartcollection.com for the web, at djonesartcollection for Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Yay.
And since you have 2.5 weeks, maybe we ought to throw your theme song in there in the next episode or two, so people can hear that.
That'd be cool.
Since we promised.
I'm into it.
Cool.
Yay.
Well, we do hope that everybody got something out of this.
That we do.
And just go out there and, grow.
Yes.
Let it grow.
Take your time. Don't rush it. Yep.
And we hope you guys have a great week.
That we do.
And until next week.
Peace and love.